Paul's story is about stress and about climbing a mountain and overcoming it. Welcome, Paul.
See if this works. So a week before my 34th birthday, I had a heart attack. Thankfully, it was minor, especially since I refused to go to the ER until the following day. So at this point, two questions probably come to mind. The first is, wait, what did he say? And the second is, who even does that anyway? This guy. I didn't want to admit anything was wrong. I didn't want to take time out of my really demanding work schedule to be told bad news, or worse, waste my time. I was in denial, depressed, a little scared, and as I later learned, clinically anxious. But to help understand how I got there, and ultimately how I got here, I think it's important to understand where I started. I grew up in a small farm town in northern Indiana. I was a country kid, a nature lover, stereotypical sports boy, and an introvert. One of those work hard, eat your meat and veggies, aw shucks types of places. And because of that upbringing, a big part of my identity has always been rooted in my work ethic and my capacity for working long hours, and we're talking seriously long hours. When I decided to practice landscape architecture, that work ethic kicked into high gear. Design professions can be brutally demanding. We're trained to work long hours in the design studio, striving for perfection, proving ourselves worthy by working all night and forsaking relationships with anyone who's not in the studio with us. There was this romantic notion that you've got to suffer for your art and your living. And to this Midwestern kid, all of it made perfect sense. Work hard, show you care, get praise, rinse and repeat. As I grew in the profession, this demand for excellence only grew stronger. And that model continued to make sense to me for a really long time, until it didn't. Back in 2015, I was in an unhealthy place. The year prior, I got divorced, ending a 15-year relationship. And on Christmas Eve, my oldest friend and closest friend of over 30 years died in a car accident. I poured myself into my work thinking that the creativity and the drive to succeed would sustain me. Some colleagues even reinforced it was a correct approach. Just focus on work, you'll get through it, they said. It's natural. Hey, can you work this weekend? Oh, come on, we know you can do it. Turns out I couldn't do it anymore. Instead, I had a blip on an EKG that confirmed I had a minor heart attack. I've since learned that depression increases the risk of adverse cardiac events in people without known heart disease. So the warning signs were there, I just didn't see them. I was completely overcome by the stress from both life and work, and I didn't know how to manage it. On top of that, my self-image as someone who could be depended on under every circumstance, no matter how difficult, started to unravel. And mentors stopped advocating for me when I became less valuable in their eyes, and at that point I felt too weak to be an advocate for myself. I took a week off of work. I was depressed, I felt hopeless, I felt completely worthless, and I felt just done. My inclination was to withdraw from the general public and spend my days alone in my apartment, but after some strong encouragement to get outside and exercise, I decided to go for a bike ride. I hadn't really ridden in years, and the first few miles were slow and painful. And let's just be honest, the whole ride was slow and painful. I've been active and athletic my entire life, and it was embarrassing how unhealthy I had become. But I stuck with it for that entire week, forcing myself to go outside daily and slowly added miles. But even as I was depressed about so many things in my life, with fitness somewhere in the middle of that list, I noticed something positive. Cycling was helping me to decompress, clear my mind, and manage my depression. I kept at it, and as an added bonus, my physical health rapidly improved in a matter of months. Like when I first learned to ride as a child, I was hooked by the beauty and freedom of cycling. Fast forward to 2017. In a healthier place, both physically and mentally, I woke up one morning having literally dreamt of a community where all are welcome to celebrate cycling and everything that makes it great. The big idea was a group of individuals looking for their people, a place where they could belong and find the support to push themselves. From that initial dream, my apparel company, Roulé Cycling, was born. At Roulé, we believe that the strongest bonds are built through diversity, empathy, and the support of community. To live out those values, I also created the Club Roulé, a cycling community based in Portland. The Club Relay is multi-layered, including partners who have embraced the club's mission and lend their support in multiple ways. And cyclists in the Club Relay are a diverse group who embrace empathy and have created a kind and inclusive culture where all are welcome. This community has been instrumental in my own ongoing healing process. Research has demonstrated a correlation between anxiety, depression, and heart disease, as well as a relationship between physical health, mental health, and social connectedness. Part of what I hope you take from my story today is that we can grow beyond our training and our environment. We can all get better about accepting ourselves and each other for who we are, seeking out the support we need, and doing what is necessary to live healthy lives. It's easy to forget there are many approaches for managing depression and anxiety. Two of the more common methods, medication and one-on-one counseling, work for a lot of people, but they didn't work for me, and that's okay. We're all different, and just because one method works for some person doesn't mean it will for you too. Keep trying until you find something that works. While my something was physical activity, the single biggest factor in helping me fight depression on a day-to-day basis is the supportive community. I'd like to leave you with 4 takeaways. 1, find a community to participate in, and in that community, find a way to support others. Helping other people can help you. While I often love the solitude of riding alone, these days when I'm riding alone, I often wonder what other members of the club are doing. Is anybody out riding? Are they doing it together? Maybe I'll run into them out here. That community means the world to me. 2, extend grace and acceptance to each other and especially to yourself. Nobody's perfect, and your value is not tied to how long you can suffer alone. 3, be aware of the signs that something isn't quite right, and learn the difference between little bumps in the road and crisis. And finally, 4, trust and respect feelings. They are so valuable. Sharing our feelings and stories, oh, that was advantageous. Sharing our feelings and stories leads to empathy. It helps each of us understand that we are not the first to experience whatever we're going through. My hope is that telling my story will encourage and empower you to share yours. Empathy brings us closer together. Greg LeMond is considered by many the greatest American cyclist of all time. And one of his most famous cycling quotes is, "It never gets easier, you just go faster." There are no shortcuts. There is no such thing as perfection. Find that supportive community that will push with you. And remember that life never gets easier. We just get better at it. Let's roll together. Thank you.